Probably should have thought about what I was going to say. So, hello. Normally I write out my movie reviews, but today, for a couple of reasons, I've decided to record one. One, I'm filled with a lot of rage. So much rage I'm not even sure if I have the ability to type. And yes, this is exactly what it looks like when I type. It's also my impression of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Anyway, the other reason is I'm having a fantastic hair day, and I wanted to share it all with you. If anyone has been following, me on social media for the last few months, you would know that I am beyond obsessed with the movie Olympus Has Fallen. Basically one of my favorite movies of the year. The most American movie that's ever America. It filled me with so much patriotism that I thought a fucking bald eagle was going to claw its way out of my chest and explode into the sky in a flurry of beautiful fireworks, naturally in the colors red, white, and blue. And somewhere, someone would be shouting the Pledge of Allegiance, and it would be beautiful. Alternately, I saw its competitor this weekend, White House Down, and it filled me with a lot of confusion, and it made me really sad. I was a little bit worried. I thought, you know what, maybe this movie will actually be fantastic, because, the director made another of the greatest movies ever with one of the greatest speeches known to mankind. Mankind. That word ought to have different meaning for us today. But luckily I was not let down, because it is maybe the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just, ugh. So I thought I'd break down my thoughts on White House Down and kind of interject it with why Olympus Has Fallen is the superior White House being exploded film. But before I start, I'm going to say, spoiler alert! I'm about to spoil both films in their entirety. First, let's start off with our main characters. White House Down, we've got a dude named Cale, don't remember his first name. IMDb won't tell me his first name either. He's played by Channing Tatum, and he's got a wife beater on. He's generally, sweaty for the entire film. So he's doing his thing. He didn't dance in this at all, which I was a little bit disappointed by. They could have squeezed that in somehow. Cale really wants to protect the president, not because he thinks it'll be a great job, because he wants to, make his daughter like him again. She is not very happy with him. He missed her talent show. She practiced for weeks. She practiced her fucking flag twirling for weeks, and he couldn't even remember to go. What is up with that? And he finally gets an interview. But Maggie Gyllenhaal was there, and they went to school together, and she is all like, dude, you barely finished school, and you have all these write-ups from your superiors saying you're a sack of shit, so why should I hire you? And he's like, no. Do I want, Channing Tatum protecting the president? I mean, can't even remember to go to his daughter's recital. It's called a smartphone. Just put that shit in there and put alarms on it. It'll go off and he'll remember. Alternately, Olympus Has Fallen stars Gerard Butler as Mike Banning. Mike Banning is not having a great time because he let the president's wife die. First lady, she's dead. Dead, really dead. I mean, you gotta save the president. But he gets shoved off to a desk job, and the chief, Angela Bassett, she's like, listen, Gumshoe, I can't put you back in there because the president's still upset because, his wife is dead. Then he sees the fucking White House exploding. He goes back in there and he fucks shit up. Absolutely amazing. And we've got other characters in both movies, obviously. White House Down, we've got Jamie Foxx as the president, which is pretty rad. Not gonna argue with you there. Maggie Gyllenhaal is something for the Secret Service. James Woods is another Secret Service guy, and unfortunately, every time I see James Woods, I envision him as Hades from Hercules, which works in this film because he is also, one of the terrorists. One of the McPoyle brothers is a terrorist. Some other people are other people. Then in Olympus Has Fallen, you've got Aaron Eckhart as the president, which next to Bill Pullman is the classiest president you can have. And you've got Angela Bassett as the chief. Morgan Freeman as some speaker guy, which is fantastic because you can let him speak all he wants. Dylan McDermott plays another Secret Service guy whose name is Forbes, and that's probably the main reason why he decided to become a terrorist, because he hated his name. You got Melissa Leo as some secretary of something, but what's most important is she can take a beating to the stomach and still manage to shout the Pledge of Allegiance. What a champ. What a fucking champ. A movie like this doesn't need to be difficult. It just needs to be simple. You've got terrorists in the White House are trying to fuck shit up. It doesn't need to be any more confusing than that. And Olympus Has Fallen, the entire plot of the movie is very easily laid out from the get-go. We know who the terrorists are. There's only one little twist. It's that Forbes is a bad guy. And that's kind of, you know, revealed to everybody but Mike Banning, so it's a surprise for him at the end, but it's not really a surprise to anybody else. You know, it's simple, it's easy, we understand it. White House Down was maybe the most confusing movie I've ever watched in my entire life. There were so many annoying little bits of foreshadowing. Like, oh, ooh, James Woods has taken off his America pin, and we all know that if you take off your America pin, it's just a sure sign that you've become a terrorist. Either that or, you know, maybe you want to get a new pin, but most importantly, you've become a terrorist. Maintain's boss having a pager. I actually said very loudly in the theater, who still uses a pager? You know what? Terrorists do, apparently. The only other guy in the movie who's also a terrorist uses a pager. The flag waving. Oh, did you miss your daughter's flag waving, Channing Tatum? Guess what? You are going to get to see it later. Watch in the president's pocket. You keep that close to your heart, Jamie Foxx, because someone's going to shoot you later and it's going to save your life. I will give White House Down props for making the terrorists Americans and a McPoyle, because you know what? Anyone can be a terrorist. I need to know exactly why they were being terrorists. No, I need to get into their psyches. This is not an episode of Criminal Minds. And it's also not an episode of Law & Order Criminal Intent. And it is definitely not an episode of SVU, although a little girl did get slapped. So maybe they bring in Benson and Stabler for that one. It'd actually be really good. And it's not just that simple. The terrorist people are there because they want money. James Woods is there, you think, to get back because his son is dead, but then it turns out he has cancer. So do we forgive him because he's dying? Or do we, like, leave him on the hook because he's, you know, trying to blow up half the world? But then it turns out that's not actually it. The entire thing was orchestrated by old Pager Man because he wanted to be president. I want every single person in Washington, D.C. to be massacred by an airplane, and then when the monument that's shaped like a penis falls down, I want it to smush everybody else. I want every single Secret Service agent to be gunned down in the White House and just be left in a pile of bloody, broken mess. And that is what Olympus Has Fallen gave me, which is why it has an R rating. White House Down has a PG-13 rating, mostly because of a child getting slapped really hard and, you know, people dying. And for whatever reason, IMDb lists a brief scene of sexuality as a reason for it having that rating, and I'm racking my brain trying to remember what this brief scene of sexuality was, and the only thing I can come up with is that Channing Tatum fell into a pool and he got wet. Touché. Touché ratings, people. The end of Olympus Has Fallen, Mike Banning kills Forbes, and it is fantastic. When he kills the rest of them, and he kills the other main terrorist guy, and you think it's okay, and he saves the president, but you know what? It is not okay, because those nukes are about to go off, and Mike Banning has to type in the code. They've got the code, and it's okay, don't worry, but then all of a sudden, some guy says hashtag, and Mike Banning is like, what? And he's like, hashtag, hashtag, and Mike Banning is like, I don't know what that is, and you're like, wow. Is the entirety of the United States going to blow up because Mike Banning has never sent a tweet in his life before? But then luckily, Angela Bassett saves the day by shouting, Shift 3, Shift 3, Shift 3! And everything's fine. And then Mike Banning drags the president out of the White House and it's smoldering, there are bodies everywhere. And then we cut to a scene where everyone's cleaned up and the president is making a speech and everyone is happy and Mike Banning has his job back. USA, USA, USA. For the ending of White House Down, the evil speaker, now president, who orchestrated the entire thing, orders the White House to be exploded because, you know what, there's terrorists in there, you can't control them, they're gonna set off all the nukes and it sucks, and they just blew up, you know, the vice president. Not cool, not cool. So the fighter jets are on their way and they're gonna drop those bombs and the White House is gonna explode. But all of a sudden, what's that on the lawn? Is that a little girl waving a flag? Abort the mission! Abort the mission! It's because military men who have had years and years of hardened training would see a tiny child on a lawn waving a flag. They are so moved by her performance that they decide to abort the entire mission. That totally makes sense. Channing Tatum figures out who the bad guy is because the pager. It's the pager! It's the pager! And they decide, you know what, let's catch him in the act. In front of all the people on the lawn. Let's not do this private. Let's just do this in front of everybody. Managed to trick the new president into admitting that it was all his plan all along. And then he's like, I'm the president, doesn't matter. And Jamie Foxx like, still alive, gotcha! And it's like an episode of Punk'd or something. Jamie Foxx gets into the helicopter named Hummingbird. Pfft, Hummingbird? Honestly. And then he's like, come on, Channing Tatum, you gotta come with me because I want to hire you because you did save my life. Maggie Gyllenhaal's like, well, I don't think you're qualified, but if the president says so, you got a job. And then Channing Tatum's like, hey, daughter, who is inexplicably in love with the White House and the president and politics, do you want to come on this helicopter ride too? And they all get in, and then the president does the thing. He does the thing! At the end. Basically, what Olympus Has Fallen teaches us is that you can't take over the White House because Mike Banning is going to fuck your shit up. Just don't even bother trying. And what White House Down teaches us is that if you have a pager, you're probably a terrorist, and you should take up flag twirling because it might save the world someday. Yeah. USA! USA! USA!